Welcome, Swagatham, Vanakkam. Just yesterday, I shared a video with you to the effect that a wider conflagration is now inevitable in the Israeli-Palestinian standoff. And this morning I woke up to the news that Israel has started its so-called limited ground operation in Lebanon. What kind of ways, avenues, directions, deflections it will take, it's too early to say. But the thought that's very clear in our mind, which I thought would be worthwhile to share with my fellow travelers in this pilgrim path of reckoning with realities, if possible, seeking and celebrating the truth of human existence on planet Earth. Of course, a very grand agenda for which individually we are not equal, but collectively we can do some very marginal justice to it. I thought it would be worthwhile to share this one particular thought, and therefore this will be one of the shortest videos I would have ever made. The thought that's very sharp and clear in my mind is this. There's a point at which your strength turns into your weakness, your victories pay the way to your defeat and your destruction. And your sense of power orients you towards your weakness and your helplessness. In order to highlight this, or in order to make it clearer, let me, with your permission, draw a little from my background as a student of literature. One of the Shakespearean tragedies I taught with great and absorbing interest was Macbeth. The play is named after the central character, Macbeth, who kills his king, Duncan, in order to fulfill his ambition to become a king. But then, of course, he succeeds, but having succeeded, he realizes that it was a Pyrrhic victory, and perhaps it would have been better for him to have not succeeded than to have succeeded. So there is a point at which this realization dawns on Macbeth, and he says the following words: "I have waded in blood so far, that should I wade no more, the returning were as tedious as go over." Let me sort of paraphrase the words of Macbeth, the words of Shakespeare, into simple common man's English. Macbeth says that in order to fulfill his ambition to be the king, he had to wade in blood. Very often the inordinate, excessive ambitions of people have to be purchased with the blood of others. And that's the lesson of history. So when this process begins, it seems, or it's felt to be a very heavy experience, one victory after the other. All that you touch turns into gold, and you go through a series of flattering achievements. All your plans seem to work. But then you reach a point where some kind of a very strange change takes place, and that is, you reach a point where you do not know whether it's worth going any further than you already have, whether it was worth your while to have traveled this far, incurring the kind of bloodshed it involved, and even more pathetically, whether it is possible at all to go back. And if it is possible to go back, well, it would be worthwhile to go back. Now, when I put it in this manner, you might be a little confused, but it doesn't matter. Put very simply, what it means is that all of human achievements at the cost of basic human values are bound to become counterproductive, and we get defeated by our very victories. So that's what Macbeth experiences. He says, I have waded in blood so far. Wading, how you make progress in water. I have waded, if you can imagine, a river of blood, and Macbeth struggling to go forward, wading in blood. I have waded in blood so far that should I wade no more? Now, do I have the option now to stop? No, I don't have the option to stop. I have to go forward. I have to continue to wade in this river of blood because I chose this path myself. At the same time, I am so weary of this experience of wading in blood. It makes no sense at all where I'm headed, where am I headed, what will I achieve all through all this. I have soiled my soul, I've corrupted my inner life, I've killed my conscience, I've died as a human being. I have to pay a huge price for realizing my ambition. It's not only that I have murdered thousands of people, it's also that I've killed myself. So the insight that Shakespeare gives through this play is that violence done on others, for whatever reasons, is primarily violence done on oneself. But at the time of contemplating this act of violence, and even at the time of executing the act of contemplated violence, the agent of this bloody action is unfortunately unaware of the extremely harmful and dehumanizing effect this act of violence, this act of bloodshed will necessarily mean for him. So he goes up. He goes about doing it. He takes the plunge, as it were, into this river of blood. And in the initial stages, he is quite happy. He is excited about his victories, his gains. He goes on wading. Then this river of blood coagulates, and the swimmer in this river of blood begins to feel tired and wearied. And then he begins to wonder whether it is worthwhile to wade anymore. So I have waded in blood so far, that should I wade no more? Do I have the option to stop wading in this river of blood which I have created for myself, which I have chosen for myself? No, I have to go forward. But going forward makes no sense. It's absolutely absurd, downright meaningless. At the same time, can I go backwards? Can I go back to my starting point? No, that option is not available. So here, Shakespeare is underlining a very important, tragic aspect of human life, and that is all of us, and this is particularly important for young people to realize, all of us are free to choose and to act. It's up to us. God has given us the freedom of choice as well as the power, the energy to act. But once we have acted, we don't have the freedom to escape from the consequences of our deeds. We get trapped in our own deeds. We get determined by our deeds. And all our freedoms are abolished by the deeds of violence that we perpetrate. And we are caught in our own trap. And my intuition is that Israel is moving into this kind of a predicament. I said it a year ago. I'm repeating the same thing today. I really feel that Israel is committing heroic suicide. In their own eyes, they may be acting wisely, heroically, powerfully, enviably, but time will tell. So, as the action in this theatre of war takes a new turn, as the areas of bloodshed continue to spread, it will necessarily generate a momentum. which will drag various other actors in this region into its zone of momentum. And the control that Israel seems to think it has over the script it has created for this entire action will begin to be diluted progressively till Israel will reach a stage when it will lose control over the scenario completely. That's why I've introduced you the predicament of Macbeth. He began by controlling everything else about him, and he made great progress, tremendous, enviable progress. But then, with every step he took forward, he reached a stage when he lost control over his own predicament. Things began to happen quite contrary to his calculations, his expectations. So, if up to this point he was acting, from that moment onwards he is acted upon. If up to this point he was victimizing others, beyond that point he himself becomes a victim. If up to this point he was the victor, from that moment onwards he is the loser, and the terrible loser. And finally, of course, you have that soliloquy by Macbeth where he says, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow keeps in this petty pace from day to day. All our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Looking back upon all that he has done in the past, all that he wanted to do and all that he succeeded in, only enabled him to be a fool of the times. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Ultimately, we are all headed to the dusty death. Dusty death means death that will turn us into dust. In the Christian rite of burial, when the dead body is finally committed to the earth, the priest would say, "Dust thou art, to dust thou shalt return." All our great enterprises, our acts of cruelty, our many trophies of victory, the many posturings that we undertake, the envious achievements that we make, or as another character in Shakespeare, Richard II, says, we are all allowed a little time on the stage of life to strut and fret our hour upon the stage. But then the time will come when with a little prick, this bubble of life will burst and nothing will be left except memories soaked in tears. This is a reality that human beings need to keep in mind, and this is not what I am saying, this is what the Greek philosophers said. Plato said, all of life must be a preparation for death. All of life must be a preparation to death, meaning we must so live our days upon this earth, knowing that one day all of this will come to an end, and that beyond death, all that we do here, the many things that we consider so important, inevitable and indispensable, all that will become completely irrelevant. A tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing. This realization has existed from time immemorial, but unfortunately, when people act, they do not take this into account. And they think that, they are the Lord and Master of all that they survey, and that even God Himself has to obeisance to them, which is a kind of delusion that power, especially political and military power, brings about in the mind of human beings. I feel sorry for the people of Israel. I feel sorry for the people of Lebanon. I feel sorry for the people of Palestine. I feel sorry for the people in this entire region. And maybe I feel sorry for the whole of humanity. For who knows how this little tragedy would play out. Watch out, for it could come and knock at your door. If not today, tomorrow. Thank you.